The sky was burning. Noah staggered through the rubble-strewn streets, boots crunching over shattered glass and charred metal. The war was over. Humanity had lost. He should have been dead, like the others who had refused to surrender, but somehow his body kept moving, driven by instinct rather than reason. The air smelled of scorched earth and ozone, the remnants of energy blasts still crackling in the wreckage around him. A low hum vibrated through the air, the sound of approaching ships. Noah's hands clenched into fists. He had seen enough of those vessels, sleek, black, edged in glowing silver, like predatory birds circling a dying planet. They had come in waves, descending from the sky like an unstoppable tide, wiping out entire battalions before ground forces even had a chance to react. He had fought. They all had. And they had lost. The last human stronghold had fallen an hour ago. He had been there when the defenses crumbled, when the final calls for retreat turned into screams, when the world he knew ended in a rain of fire and light. Now, he was just wandering through the ruins, waiting for the moment when one of them finally noticed him, and ended it. A shadow passed over him. Noah turned slowly. She stood at the edge of the wreckage, backlit by the flickering glow of burning buildings. An alien, but not just any alien. She was tall, her figure lean but powerful, clad in black and silver armor that gleamed even through the dust and smoke. A long, tattered cloak draped over her shoulders, the fabric shifting slightly in the evening breeze. Her silver eyes locked onto him, sharp and assessing. Noah had never been this close to one of them before. In the chaos of battle, the Valkar warriors had been distant figures, flashes of motion, deadly shadows cutting through human ranks with terrifying precision. He had never had the time to stop and truly look at one. If not for the long, pointed ears that twitched subtly as she studied him, she could have passed for human. His pulse pounded. He had two choices: run or go down swinging. Noah clenched his jaw, tightening his grip around the broken metal rod he had been using as a makeshift weapon. It was laughable, pointless, but if this was the end, he wasn't going to just stand there like a coward. The alien warrior's gaze flicked down to the rod in his hand, then back up to his face. She smirked. Oh, great. She thought this was funny. You survived. Her voice was smooth, confident. Noah swallowed but didn't answer. She took a slow step forward, dust swirling around her boots. Impressive. Another step. His muscles tensed, but he forced himself to stay still. Her head tilted slightly. You do not kneel? His grip tightened. Not really my thing. She let out a quiet hum as if considering his response. Good. And then, without warning, she reached out and placed a firm hand against his chest. Noah flinched, expecting a strike, a burst of energy, anything. Instead, she uttered a single word. Mine. Noah blinked. Excuse me? She met his confusion with the same unwavering certainty. Mine, she repeated, as if that explained everything. Noah glanced around, half expecting someone to pop out and clarify that this was some kind of mistranslation. Nothing. He said intelligently. I think you got the wrong guy. The alien warrior turned her head slightly, as if he were being difficult on purpose. You fought, you lived. That makes you worthy. Worthy of what? Her silver eyes gleamed. Me. Noah choked on air. She turned away, already gesturing to the other Valkar soldiers who had gathered nearby. They moved with swift efficiency, their armor reflecting the glow of the burning city as they formed a perimeter. Noah noticed for the first time that several of them were watching with amusement. He did not like that. Okay, hold on, he started, stepping back, only to find his escape blocked by two towering warriors who definitely did not look interested in letting him go. You can't just... What are you doing? Where are you taking me? The alien woman, because that's what she was, no matter how eerily human she looked, cast him a look over her shoulder. To my ship. He stared. Why? The corner of her mouth quirked up ever so slightly. Because you are my prize. His brain short-circuited. No, see, that's not how this works, he said, pointing wildly at the destruction around them. You're supposed to either kill me or throw me in a cell. Those are the two options. Nobody ever said anything about claiming people like mates, she supplied. Noah made a strangled noise. That is absolutely not what I was going to say. Yet, it is correct. No, it is not, she didn't answer. She just turned fully toward him, arms crossed as if daring him to keep arguing. The problem was, he didn't know what he was arguing against. He knew how to fight. He knew how to resist. But how the hell did you argue your way out of an alien warrior deciding you were suddenly marriage material? Look, he tried again carefully. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. I'm not. You are. I'm really not. Her eyes flashed with something unreadable. Do you wish to die, human? The question made him pause. She studied him carefully, as if waiting for his answer. Noah clenched his jaw. No, she nodded. Good. Then you come with me. And just like that, the conversation was over. A moment later, two of her warriors grabbed his arms, not roughly, but firmly enough that escape was out of the question. He considered struggling, but what was the point? Even if he managed to break free, where would he go? As they led him toward the massive ship hovering above the ruined city, Noah couldn't help but mutter under his breath, "This is the dumbest kidnapping I've ever been part of." The alien woman chuckled. He did not like that either. Noah had been in plenty of uncomfortable situations before, being pinned under enemy fire, running on empty in the middle of a battlefield. That one time he got stuck in a ventilation shaft for 3 hours during a mission gone wrong, but sitting in an alien spaceship surrounded by silent Valkar warriors, while his supposed new wife lounged in a throne-like chair at the head of the bridge, yeah, this was a new one. The ship was massive, far too large to be just a simple war vessel. The bridge alone stretched out in a sleek curve of silver and dark obsidian, with floating displays flickering in unreadable alien script. The crew moved in smooth, efficient motions, some at control panels, others guarding the entrance. Everything about the scene screamed military discipline, except for the one very obvious problem: him. Noah sat stiffly in a chair that had been dragged to the center of the room, as if he were some kind of honored guest. He wasn't bound, and nobody had thrown him in a cell yet, but the two guards flanking him made it clear that standing up without permission would be a bad idea. And then there was her. The alien general, Zyra, if he had caught her name correctly, sat watching him with open curiosity, like a scientist who had just discovered a fascinating new specimen. Her armor had been removed, revealing a deep blue tunic that clung to her lean frame, but the imposing presence remained. She radiated authority, silver eyes unblinking as they studied him. He could feel it. The weight of her gaze, it was very unsettling. Noah cleared his throat. So. Zyra arched an elegant brow. He shifted in his seat. Do I at least get dinner before the wedding? Or is this one of those straight-to-the-bonding ceremony situations? There was a beat of silence, then laughter, not just from Zyra, from several of the Valkar stationed around the bridge. Noah blinked. Well, that was new. Usually alien warriors didn't laugh at his jokes, mostly because they were too busy trying to kill him. Zyra's smirk widened ever so slightly. You are amusing. Glad to hear it, Noah said. So, about that whole mind thing. Can we talk about that? Because I feel like there was a pretty big misunderstanding. There was no misunderstanding. Right, see, that's the part I have an issue with. Zyra leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. Do you truly not understand the honor you have been given? Noah gave her a flat look. You mean the honor of being kidnapped and forcibly betrothed to an alien warlord? Yeah, I'm really feeling the love. More quiet laughter from the bridge crew. Zyra did not seem offended. If anything, she looked amused. Your sarcasm is noted. My sarcasm is all I have left, Noah muttered under his breath. Zyra exhaled through her nose, something almost resembling a sigh. Very well, human. Since you seem so confused, allow me to enlighten you. She rose gracefully from her seat and strode toward him, moving with the kind of confidence that only someone who had never lost a fight could possess. She stopped in front of his chair and crossed her arms. In our culture, warriors who prove themselves on the battlefield are granted the right to claim a bondmate, she said. It is an ancient tradition meant to strengthen bloodlines and honor those who have earned the respect of their enemies. Noah frowned. Yeah, but I didn't win anything. You people steamrolled us. Zyra's eyes gleamed. Yet you lived. That's not winning. That's called being lucky. It is called survival, she corrected. And in war, that is no small feat. Noah exhaled slowly, pinching the bridge of his nose. Okay, just to clarify, you think I'm some kind of, I don't know, worthy warrior, just because I didn't die? Zyra nodded. Yes, Noah groaned. That is the worst selection process I've ever heard. Zyra chuckled, stepping back. It is the Valkar way. Yeah, well, it's not the human way, Noah pointed out. Where I come from, people usually, date first, maybe have a conversation before deciding to get married. Zyra tilted her head, long ears twitching slightly. And how long does this dating process last? Depends. Could be months, could be years. Zyra blinked. Years? Yes. A ripple of murmurs passed through the bridge. Zyra looked genuinely baffled. Why would one waste so much time on uncertainty? A warrior either chooses or they do not. Noah threw his hands up. Because that's how humans work. We don't just claim people and decide they're ours on the spot. Zyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded, as if coming to a decision. Very well. If this dating process is important to you, then we shall do it. Noah hesitated. Wait. What? Zyra gestured to him. You wish for time before the bond is sealed. So be it. You will remain aboard my ship, under my protection, until you accept your place at my side. That is not what I said. It is what I heard. Noah's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. He turned to one of the guards standing nearby. Is this a thing? Does she just decide how conversations go? The guard, to his surprise, gave a slow nod. Oh, fantastic. Noah groaned, rubbing his temples. Okay, let me get this straight. You're keeping me here. But instead of forcing me to marry you right away, you're just waiting? Zyra nodded. Correct. And what if I never agree? Zyra's silver eyes sparkled with amusement. You will, Noah pointed at her. That sounds very ominous. She smirked. Does it? He sighed, slumping back in his chair. This is the dumbest hostage situation in history. Zyra simply sat back down in her throne-like chair, looking entirely satisfied. Noah exhaled heavily. He wasn't dead. He wasn't in chains. But somehow, that didn't feel like a win. As the ship rumbled beneath him, carrying him toward an uncertain future, he had the sinking realization that this was only the beginning. Noah had expected a lot of things from being captured by an alien warlord. Torture, maybe, forced labor, a short and tragic execution. What he hadn't expected was to be treated like a mildly stubborn houseguest. The Vorthis, Zyra's flagship, was unlike anything he had ever seen. The interior was sleek and futuristic, all smooth metallic corridors illuminated by strips of pale blue light that pulsed with the ship's energy. The walls shifted subtly with the gravity adjustments, making it feel alive, like the entire vessel was breathing. He had tried to escape once, not in a serious, I'm definitely going to make it out of here way, but in a, let's see how far I get before they catch me kind of way. The answer had been 3 steps outside his quarters before he found himself face to face with a 7-foot-tall Valkar guard who looked very unimpressed. Now he was begrudgingly getting used to his not a prisoner, but totally a prisoner situation. Currently, that meant eating some kind of glowing blue fruit in a vast dining hall, while several Valkar warriors observed him like he was an animal in a zoo. Noah sighed, tossing the fruit core onto his plate. Okay, I can't be the only one weirded out by this arrangement. Across the table, Zyra smirked. You are the only human aboard a Valkar warship. You are bound to attract attention. Yeah, but do they have to stare? He gestured vaguely at the warriors seated nearby, who immediately looked away, except for one, a broad-shouldered male with sharp eyes, who grinned. It is curiosity, Zyra said, picking up her own fruit with practiced elegance. They have never seen a human up close, certainly not one who speaks so freely in my presence. Well, sorry to disappoint, but I'm fresh out of mystical human wisdom. Zira arched a brow. Are you? Noah pointed at her. That's a trap. That's a very obvious trap. She merely smiled and bit into the fruit. Noah groaned. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Immensely. He sighed, leaning back in his seat. The worst part was that, despite everything, the food was good. The fruit had a crisp, refreshing taste, and the warm dish beside it, some kind of spiced protein, was better than half the rations he'd been stuck with during the war. So, he said after a moment, what exactly is the plan here? You keep saying we're dating, but I feel like we skipped a few steps. Zyra regarded him with a thoughtful expression. You misunderstand, human. This is not a test. You are already mine. The only question is how long you will take to accept it. Noah let out a dry laugh. And you think stuffing me with good food and letting me walk around your ship is going to convince me? Zira tilted her head. Has it not? He nearly choked. Absolutely not. Her smirk widened ever so slightly. Time will tell. Noah groaned, running a hand down his face. You can't just decide things like this. I can, she said smoothly, and I have. I hate that this is normal for you. Zira chuckled. It is very normal. Noah grumbled under his breath and stabbed a piece of food with his fork. What happens if I don't go along with this? Zira considered him for a long moment. You will remain under my protection, as I have already declared you mine. That doesn't sound like a punishment, she smirked. It is not. Noah stared at her. You're terrible at this whole coercion thing. Am I? Yes! Zira leaned forward, her silver eyes gleaming with amusement. And yet you remain. Noah opened his mouth, then closed it. Oh no, she had a point. He quickly shoveled more food into his mouth to avoid answering. The warriors around them continued to steal glances his way, and while some of them seemed genuinely curious, others were clearly still judging him. He wasn't exactly an impressive warrior, not compared to the Valkar, who looked like they spent their free time bench-pressing asteroids. One of them, a tall female with a scar across her jaw, finally spoke up. Does he even fight? Zira's gaze flickered to the warrior. He survived the final battle on Helios 3. The female warrior made a skeptical sound. Surviving is not winning. Exactly, Noah pointed at her. Thank you. Finally, someone with sense. Zyra smirked. And yet he stands here. A lesser warrior would have perished. The female warrior scoffed but said nothing more. Noah shook his head. This is the dumbest argument I've ever been a part of. Zira simply looked pleased. Noah had the sinking feeling that, somehow, he was losing. Later that night, he wandered the corridors of the ship, accompanied by 2 silent guards. It wasn't the worst situation. He had space to move, he wasn't locked in a cage, and the guards only stepped in if he tried to go somewhere he wasn't supposed to. The ship itself was strangely beautiful. The walls pulsed with energy, the distant hum of the engines vibrating through the metal floor. He had never been on an enemy vessel before, at least not one he hadn't been actively trying to destroy. At some point, he reached a viewing deck, a vast open space with a reinforced glass panel that stretched across one side of the ship. The stars beyond were breathtaking, scattered like endless diamonds across the void. Noah sighed, running a hand through his hair. What the hell am I doing? You are adjusting. He jumped, spinning around. Zira stood in the doorway, watching him with that same unreadable expression. He exhaled slowly. Do you always sneak up on people? She stepped forward, tilting her head. You seem troubled. He rubbed the back of his neck. I don't get it. Why me? Out of all the humans left, why claim me? Zira studied him for a long moment before finally answering. Because you are interesting. Noah blinked. That's it? That's the whole reason? Zira's lips curved slightly. You are different. Noah sighed. You know, usually when a woman tells me that, it's followed by, but I think we should just be friends. Zira chuckled. I assure you that is not my intent. Noah groaned. Of course it's not. Zira gazed out at the stars. In time, you will understand. Noah crossed his arms. Yeah? And what if I never do? Zira smirked, silver eyes gleaming. You will. Noah exhaled slowly. This woman was going to drive him insane. Noah had been in plenty of uncomfortable situations in his life, getting caught sneaking out past curfew as a teenager, explaining to his superior officer why his squad's vehicle was mysteriously missing half its exterior plating, and that one time he accidentally called his ex's mother instead of his actual date. But this was a whole new level of weird. He was standing in what could only be described as an armory, though it looked more like a futuristic museum of violence. Rows of weapons, bladed, energy-based, some that seemed to hum with a power he really didn't want to test, lined the walls. Armor pieces hovered above illuminated pedestals, displaying intricate designs that likely had cultural significance beyond what he could guess. And standing before him, looking entirely too pleased with herself, was Zira. I'm not wearing that, Noah stated flatly. Zira arched an elegant brow, holding up the armor piece she had selected for him. It is traditional for mates to be properly attired. Noah crossed his arms. Yeah, well, humans don't usually wear battle armor for courtship. Zira considered this. Perhaps this is why humans lose wars. Noah groaned. You love rubbing that in, don't you? She smirked. Immensely. He sighed, rubbing his temple. Look, what exactly is this for? If I'm not your prisoner, and I'm not a soldier, then why do I need to wear armor? Zira stepped closer, her silver eyes gleaming with amusement. You are mine. As such, you must be presented properly before the others. Presented? Noah echoed. Like a pet at a show? Zira's expression remained neutral. More like a war prize being honored. Noah groaned. That's worse. Zira lifted the chest piece toward him. You will wear it. He shook his head. Nope. Yes. No. Zira tilted her head. Are you defying me, human? Noah folded his arms. Absolutely. For a moment she simply stared at him, unreadable as always. Then, to his surprise, she grinned. He frowned. Why do you look like that? You are amusing. That's not reassuring. Zira turned away, placing the armor back on its pedestal. Very well, if you wish to embarrass yourself before my people, I will not stop you. Noah hesitated. Wait, what do you mean by embarrass? Zira merely smirked. That really didn't bode well. Noah should have known that Valkar traditions would involve some kind of trial. He had hoped it would be something simple, like a formal dinner where everyone glared at him disapprovingly while he ate. That he could handle. Instead, he was standing in the middle of what could only be described as an arena, surrounded by towering Valkar warriors who all looked very, very eager to see what would happen next. He turned to Zira, who stood beside him with the effortless confidence of someone who definitely had not warned him about this. I knew you were setting me up. Zira smiled, entirely unbothered. You wish to prove yourself, do you not? No, I don't. She gestured to the warrior stepping forward. He was easily 7 feet tall, built like a tank, and had the expression of someone who really wanted to test how breakable Noah was. This is Kairos, Zira said smoothly. He has volunteered to engage you in a sparring match, Noah exhaled. Of course he has. Kairos cracked his knuckles, grinning. I will try not to break him too quickly. Noah forced a smile. Wow, what a gentleman. Zira folded her arms. If you are worthy, you will endure. Noah sighed. Is everything a test with you people? Zira's eyes gleamed. Would you prefer to be claimed without honor? Yes, she chuckled. Then fight. Noah turned to face Kairos, already regretting every decision that had led to this moment. He had some combat training, but against a Valkar, that was like throwing a house cat at a lion and hoping for the best. Kairos lunged first, fast, too fast. Noah barely ducked in time, rolling away before the Valkar's fist could turn his skull into paste. He scrambled to his feet, heart hammering. The crowd loved it. Kairos grinned. You are quick for a human. Gee, thanks, Noah muttered. Kiros charged again. This time, Noah sidestepped at the last second, letting the Valkar's momentum carry him forward. The warrior stumbled slightly, and for a brief, beautiful moment, Noah saw an opening. He swung. His fist connected with Kiros's side. It was like punching a boulder. Pain shot up his arm. Ow! Ow! Noah stumbled back, clutching his hand. Oh, that was stupid. Kiros laughed. A bold attempt, Noah groaned. Glad my suffering is entertaining. The crowd was entertained. Some were even nodding in approval, though whether it was for his effort or his sheer stupidity, he wasn't sure. Zira was watching closely, an amused glint in her gaze. Kiros lunged again, but this time, instead of dodging, Noah ducked low and kicked out at the warrior's knee. It didn't do much. Kiros barely stumbled, but it was something. The Valkar stepped back, nodding. You are learning, Noah huffed. Oh yeah, learning that I should run. Kiros grinned. A true warrior fights even when outmatched. Noah exhaled sharply. Guess that means I'm not a true warrior then. He expected Zira to scoff. Instead, she smirked. You are stubborn, human. That is its own kind of strength. Kiros stepped back, inclining his head. He does not lack spirit. Zira tilted her head. He is mine for a reason. Noah groaned. Oh, we're back to that again. The crowd murmured in approval, and to his surprise, some of them actually clapped. Noah wasn't sure what he had won exactly, other than sore knuckles and a bruised ego, but he'd take it. As he rubbed his aching hand, Zira leaned in slightly, her voice low. You endure, even when you believe you cannot. Noah frowned at her. Is that your way of saying you're impressed? Zira smirked. It is my way of saying you are worthy. Noah sighed. He really needed to stop proving her right. Noah had always considered himself a reasonable man. He liked to think he could roll with the punches, adapt, and keep his head on straight even in the most bizarre of circumstances. But sitting in what could only be described as a Valkar courtship banquet, surrounded by warriors who looked like they'd rather be wielding weapons than utensils, he was beginning to suspect he had vastly overestimated his ability to adapt. The dining hall was massive, carved from dark metal that shimmered under the soft glow of overhead lights. Intricate banners hung from the high ceiling, each displaying alien symbols that Noah was pretty sure meant something important, either family crests or very intense warnings about dietary restrictions. The long tables stretched the length of the room, occupied by Valkar of various ranks, all engaged in conversation that sounded far too aggressive to be friendly. And at the head of the table, seated beside him like this was the most normal thing in the world, was Zira. Noah glanced at her plate. Unlike his own, which was full of very suspicious food that may or may not still be moving, hers contained what he could only describe as the alien equivalent of a gourmet meal, elegant, expertly prepared, and possibly not designed to kill him. He nudged her lightly. So, what exactly is all this? Zira took a sip from her crystalline glass before answering. A formal gathering to acknowledge our bond. Noah raised a brow. You mean a wedding reception? She considered. Something like that. He exhaled. Great. Fantastic. Love that I wasn't consulted. Zira smirked. You were present for the declaration. Oh, that? Noah scoffed. Yeah, real romantic. Mine isn't exactly the heartfelt proposal I dreamed of. She tilted her head, silver eyes gleaming with amusement. Would you have preferred poetry? No, I would have preferred options. Zira merely chuckled, as if his suffering was somehow the highlight of her evening. Across the table, a warrior slammed his fist onto the surface, causing the plates to rattle. The human eats like a fledgling. Is he worthy of a warrior's mate? Noah blinked. Okay, first of all, rude. Zira did not even glance at the warrior. He is mine. That is all that matters. The warrior grunted but said nothing more, though the way he looked at Noah made it clear he was less than impressed. Noah sighed and glanced back at his plate. The food was not appealing. Some of it looked like it had tentacles, and he was fairly certain one of the pieces twitched when he poked it. Zira watched him, smirking. You are hesitant. Noah frowned. I don't trust food that fights back. She picked up a piece from her own plate and placed it on his. Try this. It is gentler. He eyed it warily. That's not reassuring. Still, under the watchful eyes of at least a dozen Valkar warriors, he reluctantly took a bite. To his surprise, it wasn't terrible. Kind of smoky, with a texture that reminded him of grilled fish. Zyra nodded approvingly. See, you will not die, Noah swallowed. Yet. She chuckled. Before he could process the fact that he had somehow become the center of the strangest alien dinner party in history, another warrior stood, raising his glass. A toast to General Zyra and her human. The hall erupted in cheers. Noah flinched as several warriors banged their fists on the table in approval, shaking the entire structure like an earthquake. Noah sighed. I really need to stop winning their approval in ways that could kill me. Zyra leaned slightly toward him, her voice smooth. Would you prefer they despise you? No, Noah admitted. I just prefer if they stop testing my durability like I'm some kind of stress ball. Zyra smirked but said nothing. As the feast continued, Noah noticed something odd. The Valkar around them seemed tense. It wasn't directed at him necessarily, but there was a certain stiffness in their posture, a quiet intensity in their conversations. He leaned toward Zyra. Okay, tell me I'm imagining things, but everyone seems way on edge. Zyra's expression remained neutral, but her fingers tapped lightly against the table. A subtle gesture he had learned meant she was thinking. There is unrest. Noah's stomach twisted. Because of me? She shook her head. Not directly. There are those who do not agree with my claim on you. They see it as weakness. Noah exhaled. Oh, wonderful, because nothing says happy new couple like potential mutiny. Zyra's lips twitched, but her gaze remained sharp. It is nothing I cannot handle. Noah frowned. Zyra. Before he could say more, a sharp chime echoed through the hall, drawing everyone's attention. A Valkar soldier entered, stepping forward with a clenched fist over his chest, a clear sign of urgency. Zyra rose, her expression turning from amusement to pure authority. Report. The soldier inclined his head. There has been an incident in the lower districts. A faction opposes your claim and has begun stirring dissent. The hall fell into murmurs, warriors exchanging knowing glances. Noah groaned. Great. Fantastic. So, what now? Zyra turned to him, her expression unreadable. Now, I remind them why I am not to be challenged. Noah sighed. Yeah, see, that doesn't sound like it's going to be a peaceful chat over tea. Zyra smirked. Would you prefer poetry? Noah groaned. I walked right into that one. Zyra turned back to her warriors, her tone commanding. Prepare for deployment. We will end this before it festers. Noah rubbed his temples. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be the weirdest honeymoon in history. Noah had never been particularly fond of being in the middle of armed conflict, especially when that conflict was between his wife and a group of heavily armed, very irritable alien warriors who thought she had gone soft for claiming him. And yet, here he was, standing on the platform of an alien dropship, gripping the rail as the city beneath them stretched out in glowing blue and silver towers, spirals of energy surging through the metal veins of Valkar infrastructure. Zyra stood at the front of the ship, poised and unwavering, her silver eyes scanning the neon-lit districts below as her elite warriors prepared their descent. She looked every bit the warrior general he had first met, confident, precise, and dangerous. Noah, on the other hand, looked every bit the confused human who had somehow been drafted into this madness. Just so we're clear, he said, gripping the rail tighter as the ship jolted forward. When you say we're handling this, you do mean through diplomacy, right? Zyra glanced at him. Yes. He narrowed his eyes. That was way too fast. That was a reflex answer. Be honest. She smirked slightly, but didn't confirm or deny. Instead, she turned to her warriors. The dissenters have taken hold of the eastern barracks. They believe I am unfit to lead, and they mistake my claim on the human as weakness. Her voice was firm, commanding. We will remind them otherwise. One of the warriors, a broad-shouldered Valkar with a jagged scar across his chin, nodded. Shall we engage with full force, General? Zira's lips curved slightly. Not yet. I will offer them a chance to reconsider. Noah exhaled. Oh, well, that's a relief. Zira's gaze darkened. Then, if they refuse, I will break them. Noah groaned. Ah, and there it is. The dropship descended swiftly, the hum of its thrusters sending ripples through the air as they neared the eastern district. The architecture here was more industrial, less pristine than the rest of the city. Towering structures loomed overhead, bridges connecting them like an intricate web, and at the heart of it all, a group of armored Valkar warriors had gathered, their stances rigid, weapons at their sides. The moment the dropship landed, Zira stepped forward with the kind of confidence that made Noah seriously question how she hadn't conquered more than just Earth. The dissenters watched her carefully. Their leader, a tall warrior with deep crimson markings on his face, stepping forward to meet her. General, he said, his voice carrying a cold edge, you should not be here. Zira tilted her head slightly. That is an interesting thing to say to your leader. The warrior's jaw tightened. You claim a human as your mate. You show affection to a weaker species. You dishonor the strength of our people. Noah raised a hand. Hi, yeah, still standing right here. Zira ignored him. You are a fool if you believe strength is measured only by brute force. She took another step forward, her gaze locking onto the dissenters. You think I have grown weak? That I have lost my edge? Her voice dropped slightly, a dangerous whisper. Would you like to test that theory? Noah immediately took a step back. Oh no, here we go. The dissenters tensed. Some looked uncertain, but their leader remained firm. You would fight your own people to defend a human? Zira smirked. I would fight my own people to remind them who I am. The tension in the air crackled like static. Noah muttered under his breath, Yep. Definitely should have just stayed a prisoner. Then, before anyone could react, Zira moved. She was fast. One moment she was standing there, calm and composed. The next, she had closed the distance between her and the dissenting leader in a blink. Her fist connected with his chest, sending him flying backward into the metal wall behind him. The impact was loud, the force denting the steel. The other warriors froze. Zira didn't even blink. Would anyone else, she said, voice steady, like to question my strength? Noah exhaled. Okay, wow. Yeah, that's one way to hold a meeting. The dissenters shifted uneasily, their confidence cracking as their leader groaned from where he lay, clearly reconsidering his life choices. Zira stepped forward, slow and deliberate. You think me weak for claiming a human? You misunderstand entirely. She turned slightly, her silver eyes flicking to Noah. I did not claim him because he is weak. I claimed him because he is mine. Noah blinked. Wait, is that supposed to be... He gestured vaguely. Like an honor? She ignored him again. I could have killed him, Zira continued, voice unwavering. But I did not. Strength is not in destruction. It is in choice. Her gaze swept over the assembled warriors. And I choose to stand with him. For a long moment there was silence. Then slowly one of the dissenters stepped forward. His expression was unreadable, but after a beat he placed a clenched fist over his chest, the same salute given to commanders. Then another followed, then another. One by one the warriors acknowledged her authority. Noah let out a slow breath. Holy, did we just win? Zira turned to him, her smirk returning. You sound surprised. I am surprised. You just talked them into submission with like 1.5 punches. She arched a brow. Would you have preferred poetry? Noah groaned. I walked into that again. Zira chuckled. The dissenters slowly dispersed, their leader still groaning on the ground as Zira's warriors reclaimed the district. Noah crossed his arms. So, what now? Are we going back to our weird space marriage honeymoon? Zira smirked. Not quite. There are still matters to attend to. Noah sighed. Of course there are. She stepped closer, lowering her voice slightly. You did well today, Noah. He snorted. I literally did nothing. Her silver eyes glowed faintly. You stood beside me, Noah blinked. For the first time, he didn't have a snarky response. Zyra smirked at his rare silence, then turned back to her warriors. Noah exhaled, shaking his head. Yeah, I'm in so much trouble. The great halls of the Valkar capital gleamed with silver and obsidian, towering arches pulsing with streams of energy that ran like veins through the city's heart. Noah had seen a lot of strange things since being dragged across the stars by Zyra, but standing in the very center of her people's grand ceremonial hall, beside her, as a husband instead of a prisoner, yeah, this definitely ranked high on his list of most absurd life choices. The hall was filled with Valkar warriors, high-ranking officials, and enough ceremonial banners to make him wonder if there was an intergalactic sale on intimidating decor. At the center of it all stood Zyra, regal and composed, her long ears angled slightly back as she surveyed the assembly. Her battle armor had been replaced with ceremonial robes, flowing dark fabric lined with silver, highlighting the sharp angles of her face and the sheer authority she carried without effort. Noah, on the other hand, was in some version of Valkar formal wear, meaning, yes, it was black, and yes, it had entirely too many layers. He tugged at the stiff collar and muttered under his breath, I swear, if this thing gets any tighter, I'm gonna pass out in front of an entire alien species. Zyra's sharp hearing caught it, of course. She smirked, not looking at him as she replied, If you pass out, I will simply carry you. Noah sighed. Of course you would. She turned slightly, silver eyes gleaming. You look acceptable. Wow, Noah deadpanned. A true poet. Zyra chuckled, and for a moment he forgot about the hundreds of intimidating warriors watching them like hawks. He was starting to understand something it had taken him this entire ridiculous, unpredictable journey to learn. She liked him, not just as a claim, not just as a war prize, not even as some strange cultural symbol of victory. She liked him, the human him, the loud, sometimes sarcastic, often an over-his-head version of him. And somehow, despite every logical instinct in his brain telling him he should have been terrified of this entire situation, he realized he liked her too, not just as a warrior, not just as some powerful figure who had spared him from death. He liked the way she smirked at his jokes, the way her voice softened when she spoke to him alone, the way she had been willing to challenge her own people, not for dominance, not for control, but because she refused to let him be seen as lesser. The thought was so absurd, so overwhelming, that he almost missed the start of the ceremony. One of the elder Valkar, draped in ceremonial robes that shimmered like dark metal, raised a hand for silence. The hall quieted instantly. The elder's voice was deep and resonant. The war is over, the cycles of conquest have ended. Our leader has chosen her bondmate, as is tradition. Now we stand witness to their union. Noah swallowed. Oh yeah, this is happening. This is really happening. Zyra turned to face him fully, her gaze unreadable. Do you regret standing here, human? Noah exhaled. Oh, absolutely. A flicker of something, amusement maybe, crossed her face. You could have run. He smirked slightly. And where exactly would I go? He gestured vaguely. Pretty sure my escape route ended the moment I stepped onto an alien warship. Zyra tilted her head. Then why stay? Noah hesitated. Then, finally, he said it. Because I want to. Zyra's silver eyes flickered, a shift so small it was almost imperceptible. But to Noah, it was everything. The elder spoke again. Let the bond be recognized. Zyra extended her hand, palm up, waiting. Noah stared at it. This was it, the final step, the part where he either took her hand and sealed this impossible fate, or walked away. Noah let out a slow breath. You sure about this, Zyra? She arched a brow. Are you? He looked at her, really looked at her, and despite the absolute absurdity of everything that had led him here, he smiled. Then, without another word, he placed his hand in hers. The hall erupted in a low, resonant hum, energy surging through the very walls, the ceremonial markings on the floor glowing as the bond was sealed. The Valkar warriors slammed their fists against their chests in a synchronized salute, their approval vibrating through the chamber like a war drum. Zira's fingers curled around his, firm and unyielding. "It is done," she murmured. Noah exhaled. "Yep, definitely no takebacks now." Zira smirked. "You would not escape me, even if there were," he groaned. "Why do I even ask?" Laughter rippled through the warriors. Even the elders seemed vaguely amused, and just like that, it was over. The war was behind them. The uncertainty, the chaos, the constant tug-of-war between duty and survival. It had all led to this. Noah wasn't sure if he would ever truly understand the full weight of what had happened to him. He wasn't sure if he would ever wake up one day and not be mildly baffled by the fact that he was now married to an alien general, but he was sure of one thing. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't running anymore. He was home. And, strangely enough, that home had silver eyes and really sharp ears.